My boyfriend bet me to flash some people at a party. When I did, a fight broke out between him and another guy that ended with me in the hospital. My boyfriend and I have been together for about a year now. In the beginning he was incredibly romantic, and we were together all the time. Mostly our relationship was physical, until recently. We have been having trouble in the bedroom. He has even started watching OnlyFans, saying he can't help it as I am just not fulfilling all of his needs. I've tried role play and different kinds of toys, but it just isn't the same as when we first got together. Other than that, we have a lot of fun together. We spend a lot of time going out to clubs and parties. We went to a house party a few days ago, and we're hanging out on this long balcony on the second floor with a few others. At this point my boyfriend had drunk 4 beers and was working on his 5th. I was trying to convince him that we should go downstairs, when one of the girls lifted her shirt up and yelled at everyone down below to look up. Everyone cheered, and the guy next to her kissed her. My boyfriend said he wished I was as wild as her. I told him I could do what she did. He smiled and told me he knew I wouldn't. I asked if he wanted me to, and he said he'd love to see that wild side of me, if it existed. He told me he would bet $20 that I wouldn't do it. So I stood up and flashed everyone. A bunch of people cheered, and when I looked back at my boyfriend, he was no longer smiling. He told me I was a slut and a cheater. I quickly apologized, and said I only did it because he said he wanted me to. He said I hadn't had as much to drink as him, so I had no excuse for being stupid. He claimed I was victim blaming and pushed me back little by little, until I was near the edge of the balcony. I told him to stop or I might fall over. He told me I wasn't sexy enough to be tempting to him anymore, and that everyone cheering just felt pity for me because I was so pathetic. I started crying and one of the other guys on the balcony walked over to us. He told my boyfriend to back off, and that he had too much to drink so we should both head downstairs. At this point a lot of people were watching. My boyfriend noticed and claimed I was the one making a scene, trying to make him look bad. He backed up away from me and held his hands up. I was still crying, so a guy came over and asked if I was okay. That was when my boyfriend went ballistic. He told the guy to get his hands off of his woman. They ended up yelling at each other, and when my boyfriend pushed the guy, I got in between them to try to stop it. Instead, both of them charged at each other, and I accidentally got knocked back. I ended up falling off of the balcony and I heard a snap. I just started screaming in pain. I looked over, and saw my arm bent in a funny way. I held my breath to keep my body from moving any more than it had to. Thankfully someone called an ambulance, but almost everyone had left before they got there. As the paramedics were loading me up, a cop came over and asked what happened. I told them it was an accident, and I was just trying to stop a fight. I found out later the cops arrested both my boyfriend and the guy, as each kept blaming the other, saying I was pushed deliberately. My boyfriend left me a dozen messages, saying I had better tell the cops the other guy did it, because he was not going to jail for my own stupid actions. But he refused to visit me, as I had embarrassed him. Surprisingly, the other guy actually did visit and brought me flowers. He apologized and mentioned he didn't make a lot of money, but he was willing to pay me back in installments for the hospital bill. I told him I wasn't going to sue him or anything, as what happened was my own fault. He looked relieved, but told me I was wrong. It was him and my boyfriend's fault, that I deserved better than that creep. When the cops visited me again, asking for my official statement, I told them everything, that my boyfriend made me feel threatened, and the other guy was trying to help me, but the actual fall was an accident. They told me, accident or not, both of them would have to go to court and would at least get community service. At most they might get jail time. I'm now receiving more calls than ever from my boyfriend and his friends, all calling me an AH because I ratted on him, and betrayed his trust. My boyfriend told me, if he wanted to hurt me, then he would have. I had no right to get him arrested and possibly ruin his future, that because I never focused solely on his needs and wants, he kept having to fulfill them elsewhere, and hoped I knew it was my fault. It's been a rough few days, dealing with the texts and threats, but I am trying to focus on the severe amount of PT I will need to do from now on.